There's Tommy. Hey, welcome, Tommy.
Hey, Tommy.
Hey, y'all hear me?
Yep.
Hey,
We heard it's your birthday. We heard it's your birthday.
Yeah.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Tommy.
Thank you. It seems to happen every year at the same time. I don't understand why. What's happening, folks?
We're getting ready. I guess the webinar is starting in about 3 minutes. I'm Bertus, the moderator.
Hey, nice to meet you.
I'm going to at least start the questioning, but then, as we were saying, y'all talk among yourselves, ask questions of each other.
Okay.
The whole idea here is to share knowledge and share inspiration and to people that are trying to do what you're doing or do it better.
Right.
On board.
Hey, you gonna change Tommy's name? Put Tommy's name
Is he Bertus also?
He's Bertus too. Yeah.
I'm Bertus.
Oh man, Bertus, I think you're sort of.
I'm ubiquitous.
Yeah.
You're replicating.
Buddy.
Our district attorney is here, Deborah Gonzalez. Hey, Deborah.
Hey.
Good to see you. Hi.
Hi, hello, sorry.
So we still have participants coming in. We'll wait till a little after 7 to get going.
Okay.
And Blair, my goal is this is sort of about a 75-minute thing. It's a little more than an hour, but it's not. If it feels like it's getting too long, we can always. I'm thinking sort of 8:15. Does that sound about right?
Well, hey, here comes Mariah. We put it out for an hour and a half. So depending on how it's flowing, we can go.
We can get a million good questions from the audience, and just keep going.
Yeah. Okay. The number of participants is ticking up steadily, so we'll give it time. Hey, Mariah, how was the meeting?
It was okay. I'm glad it's over.
I was watching. Hey, Mariah.
Oh, yeah. Yo, what's up? I met your daughter recently, Caroline.
Aww.
Yeah, at the Southern Center in Atlanta.
Yes. Oh,
Yeah.
That just gives me so much hope.
Yeah, I was like, wow, this person's really cool. And then, like, oh, you might know my mom, Caroline Aiken. I was like,
oh my God.
Yeah,
Awesome.
she seemed really badass, so.
That's cool. She is.
Yes, dear.
Happy birthday.
My goodness. So, wow, songwriting questions.
Your worst.
Am I missing them?
There's good and there's bad.
Oh my God. Every one of your souls is just so special.
Back at you, Caroline.
Yeah, definitely.
Ellen.
Oh, how are you feeling?
Ellen, a quick question. Were you able to get the link to that person who signed up for the workshop at the last minute?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Everyone who signed up has been emailed.
Very, very good. Okay.
Feel better.
Okay.
Yeah. That's great to see everybody's face.
Yeah.
Isn't it though?
We still have people coming in, so we'll hold on a few minutes here.
Okay, I'll play you a song.
Oh, please do. Okay.
Awesome.
Susan sees the world in little pieces, and she shows us what we overlook. It gives purple flowers, the way the sunshine sparkles on the roof. I see the world through Susan's eyes, hanging on the wall. Then I realize I've been looking without seeing it all day. Okay, are we ready now?
Oh, I got goosebumps.
Yeah, that was a great way to kick it off. Thank you.
I just hate radio silence.
Yeah, man, you and me both.
All right, we're gonna give it 2 more minutes because we still have a bunch of people coming in. So let's give it just a minute more, and then.
All right. Anybody else want to play a song?
I can say, how about them dogs?
Well,
Yeah.
how about them dogs?
How about them dogs?
That defense. We don't have to talk about football, but that defense.
Yeah, man.
Holy cow.
Yeah. It's like, not today.
No, sir.
They learned their lesson last time they played them,
Mm-hmm.
right?
What it is.
All right. Well, it looks like we're ready to start. So, well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the 2nd annual Vic Chesnutt Songwriting Seminar and Workshop Series. Thanks to Zoom, we have people joining in from across the USA, from California to Alabama, from Oregon to Tennessee, and from Montana to North Carolina and points in between. And believe me, they're all over. Also from Canada and Germany. I'm Blair Dormany, and I'm president of the Rotary Club of the Classic City of Athens, Georgia, and a member of the Vic Chesnutt Songwriter of the Year Award Committee, actually last year's chair. Classic City Rotary sponsors the Vic Chesnutt Songwriter Award, which is now in its 6th year and growing. Tonight we have an all-star panel on hand to discuss the craft, business, and life of songwriting. Amy Ray and Emily Saliers of the Indigo Girls, veteran songwriter Caroline Aiken, Tomi Martin and Trina Meade of 3-5 Human, Mariah Parker, also known as Lingua Franca, a past winner of the Vic Chesnutt Songwriter of the Year Award, and Ben Delacour from Nashville, who will be performing at our awards event this spring. REM's lawyer, Bertus Downs, will be our moderator. We are deeply grateful to each of you for participating, and I really do mean that. We thank you very, very much. Before I turn it over to Bertus, a couple of things. The genesis of this seminar was a conversation between Bill Berry of REM and Sissy Irwin, who was a key member of our Vic Chesnutt Songwriter of the Year Award Committee. After an awards event, Bill said to Sissy, "What about the songwriters who don't win an award? What are you doing for them?" Sissy thought about it and proposed a program of instruction by veteran songwriters for those songwriters who were up and coming. This seminar and the workshops had grown from that idea. Sadly, Sissy died unexpectedly of cancer this past year. She was a beloved member of our committee, a colleague, and we remember her with affection and respect for the hard work that she put in on behalf of the Vic Award and the seminar and the workshops. Later in the seminar, you will hear from Ellen Bryson, the current committee chair, about the upcoming Vic Awards and about your opportunity to participate in the songwriting workshops taught by the instructors on this panel and scheduled for the next 3 Thursdays. The pandemic has made touring and performing difficult, so this could be a great time to write some songs. In my opinion, a good song is one of the greatest gifts a person can give the world. Thanks for being here, so let's get started. Bertus?
Couldn't agree with you more about that last point you made, Blair. It's a great gift, and speaking of gifts, I really appreciate the gift of being asked to moderate this panel. I'm really excited about it. I think the key to being moderator for panel is have a really good panel of really talented musicians, and I'm excited to be a part of this, the 2nd annual Vic Chesnutt Songwriting Seminar. We're here to gain insights from these artists about what they do and how they do it, what drives them, what inspires them, and most importantly, how do they channel all that into these songs that go out into the world and become a part of all of our lives. I'm honored to be asked to moderate the discussion, and Blair said he could either introduce me or I turned all these things off. And
Oh, that's my jam. Yeah.
man.
Put it up.
that could be the start of a
Definitely a hit song.
everything on my computer off except Zoom. And I think again that stuff wouldn't happen, but that was a call from hey doc, jeez, what's the emergency room? Jeez, okay, computers. So Blair said he would either introduce me or I could just do a quick introduction of myself. So I thought I'd better do that. I'm Bertus Downs. I moved to Athens 40 years ago to go to law school, and I've been representing Athens' own REM since their earliest days as a band. I've been enjoying songs and thinking about songs pretty much all my life as a fan, and then for most of my life as a lawyer and manager helping, not in the music business, but in the REM business. So I'm really happy to be facilitating this discussion. Can't wait to hear what these talented musicians have to say and to share with us. So let's get into it. I have a question, and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to offer the panelists the same thing Blair offered me, which is to introduce themselves. Please just say who you are, whatever you want to about your songwriting journey, your career in music, your pet peeves, stories, your story, whatever you want to share to help the audience out there in Zoom land get to know you better. Also, where are we talking from tonight? Where are you? What is your Zoom location, or at least what state are you in? And those of you in the chat, I know you're already using the chat. Blair already referred to it, but let us know where you are too. It'd be helpful for everybody to realize, even though we can't all be in a room together, we're in a Zoom together, and it'd be fun to know where people are. I swear. How do you turn these things off? I thought I had done.
They don't go off.
I'll mark as red. Maybe that'll make it. All right, so I asked my panel, how do y'all want to go in what order? And I'm going to go randomly. So I'm going to start, because she's right next to me on the screen, with Caroline Aiken. Tell us about that, Caroline. If you'll then call on somebody else till we get through the it's actually 7 humans, including the 2.
I'll be very quick.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Burtis, and thank you, Blair, Ellen, and all of you at Classic City Rotary for creating platforms for local musicians and musicians you're creating radio shows and workshops and free to submit contests. And I just want to say thank you for all of the energy put towards building in the community. It's really a beautiful thing, and everybody on this panel just excites me. I can't wait to hear everybody. I have been a musician since 1969, a professional musician. That is, I got paid $25 for a gig. That I call the beginning of my professional work. And, just toured around the country, toured over Europe, and have had amazing experiences opening for amazing indigo girls who are very amazing when they give back to the community and have, locals come and open for them. It's amazing. And it's just always been a give back, So that's what, hopefully, with the radio show that I do, New South Showcase, where Tomi and Trina have performed, and there's a wonderful show that's perpetually online that you must go hear of theirs at my website, and they play on WUGA University here, our NPR station, every Wednesday night, every Saturday night, 9 o'clock. Such an honor. We're working out a lot of stuff to have some more local stuff being performed and recorded at Hendershot's. Full Moon Studios has been the post-edit people, and I just have to say, it's Chris Shoup, again, at UGA. It's just a community of folks coming together. David Barbie over at MBUS, It's just this amazing community that's come together, and I love seeing Athens and Atlanta together here. I love it. Yeah. Thank you. All right, that's all for me.
And you're in Athens.
I'm in Athens.
You're in Athens right now. Okay, so who are you turning it over to? Who's your next panelist? Who's near you on the screen?
Oh, well, Emily Saliers is next to me.
Hey, Caroline.
Hey, Mama.
Hey, everybody out there and in here. I'm Emily Saliers, and I'm in a band called Indigo Girls with that other person there, Amy Ray. And I'm speaking to y'all from my home in Decatur, Georgia. Caroline, thank you for asking me and Amy to do this. It's good to see the faces of people that we love with all our hearts, and then new faces. And getting to know more about the songwriting process from other people. You, Caroline Aiken, you know, I was obsessed with Caroline Aiken, y'all, when I was a young person. I used to follow her around like a puppy dog. She was so kind to me and Amy. And so when I think about songwriting, like a lot of it comes from your life experience, and there's always a continuum. And so what came before me slightly was Caroline. She took us under her wing. And I can't even describe what that was like to have your songwriting influence me and your personhood touch my heart and take care of me and and Amy. So, it's always like, if you come a call and Amy and I are like, hell yeah, we'll be there. So I'm looking forward to talking about the songwriting process and how it started and how it's changed. And I'm looking forward to listening to everybody else. So thank you. And since I brought her up, I'll pick my other, my bandmate and my good friend, Amy Ray.
Oh, great. Thanks, Emily. It's good to be here, and I just appreciate being asked to do this. Emily and I have been playing together since we were 15, and Lindley was 16, I was 15, and we've known each other since we were 10. So we're thankful to have such a long life together. Caroline definitely was one of a couple of Dee Dee Vogt and Caroline Aiken. Those were the two women in our lives, And oh my God, we were such little, I don't know, troublemakers at the time. But you put up with a lot, so we appreciate your help. And I'm just looking forward to hearing what everybody says about songwriting. I think these kind of things are amazing, and I always learn a lot from listening to other people. So thanks for having me, and I'm glad to be here. I'm going to pick Tomi Martin.
Ding, 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 ding.
You're the winner.
Wow. Hey, what's up, everybody? First of all, thanks for asking me to be a part of this. It's good to see this kind of thing happening. I'm a product of the local scene also, the Amy's and Emily and Caroline and, the Dee Dee Votes and all that. I was around. Fortunately, I moved here from Kentucky, and I moved here in like 86. It was right at the beginning of the cool stuff that was going on. I've done a lot of traveling, a lot of songwriting. I've listened to a lot of people. I spent a lot of time in Eddie's attic and watching how people construct and deconstruct songs, put them together. I've spent a lot of time in Nashville. And, Trina and I have been in a band together for a long time, a band called 3-5 Human. And I spent some time in Athens. I got to hang out with Michael Stipe in Europe. So, that's my connection to REM or whatever.
Where in Europe did you and Michael hang out?
We hang out. Man, I want to start getting the story. We hung out in Donatello Versace's house.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it was a party.
The VMAs, the MTV Music Awards.
Yeah, exactly. I was playing with Madonna. And Michael was there.
Okay.
Yeah, Michael was there, and, a bunch of other people there, whatever. And that was like when we really kind of connected, because he tried to take my hat. He wanted my hat at the time. But, he was like, "Cool hat, man. Can I have it?" That's what I do. Musician, guitar player, producer. I've written some songs for some people, and did some touring or whatever, and written some songs. And I'm glad to be in here. And I'll pick the other half, which is Trina.
Oh, hey y'all! It's so good to see y'all. Thanks, Tommy, and happy birthday to you, bro. Man, hope your day is going really, really, really well. And thank you guys for having us here with you all. Oh my goodness! I mean, I'm just looking at everybody and all the good hearts here. I am a front woman for 3-5 Human. Like Tommy said, we've been around for, feels like since the earth cooled. But songwriting. My experience started with songwriting with Tommy. As a matter of fact, after we came off that the R&B chitlin circuit type thing. You know, we were doing a lot of covers and stuff. And when we started to evolve as a band and what our sound was going to be like, you know, songwriting came into it. We started going around town and listening to other people. I remember seeing Amy and Emily on the TV. I was like, and you know, Tommy was like, oh yeah, and I was listening to their harmonies. Their harmonies and stuff is what really, really pulled me in. Through Tommy's was working at 7 Under downtown Atlanta. No, I'm Atlanta, south of Atlanta, right?
5. Yeah.
And Big Fish Ensemble. Was talking to him about, you know, Jesus Christ Superstar, and they were, you know, asking all the bands around town to submit songs, you know, their way of the songs that were in the play. And so that's how we met Amy and Emily. That's how I met Caroline. I remember meeting Caroline. First time I saw her, I was like, damn, she is cool as hell. I was looking at her pants, her doggone Apple hat, her friend's jacket. I was like, man, that's what I want to be. And we became really good friends, and she's always been a champion, as well as Amy and Emily with the band, just opening up their hearts. You know, a lot of people, musicians and artists who are out there and making it, you know, they hold their very close, but Amy and Emily and Caroline as well just have been always so giving to us and open, and you know, we call them and they go, yeah, you know, that's huge to me. And just, we love them very much, and we know that they love us, and I'm excited about the new phases of songwriting that I'm working now. Like, you know, finally got my studio here at the house, and it's kind of like, oh, you're in it by yourself now, so it's got to be good, you know. You got to figure it out, you know. And those are some of the things that I want to talk about in growing in songwriting, and how different songs are being written and stuff like that. But I'm so glad to be here, y'all, and thank you for having me. And I'm so glad to see all of y'all, and to meet new folks. Yeah. And then let me see. I'm gonna let's see. Well, y'all like Ben. Yeah. Hey, nice to meet you.
Hey, nice to meet you too.
Yeah.
Yeah, my name is Coer. I'm based in Nashville. Songwriter. I kind of started playing music when I was a little kid. I grew up in Brooklyn. I left New York when I was pretty young. But, my brother and I just kind of playing in punk rock and metal bands. I was always into, you know, folk and old blues and stuff like that. I grew up kind of listening to that, but obviously when you're a kid, you know, you hear when your parents are moving far away from that. So, yeah, did that for a long time, and then kind of, as I started getting out of my teens, I got burned out and started playing more kind of songwritery type stuff, and kind of that ties in with my kind of an obsession with language and the way words and melody inform one another, which I think is key, right? That's how you create that kind of alchemic third entity, you know, because you can have great music and great lyrics, but if they don't inform one another, you know, and then that goes into a whole discussion about instincts and things like that. Yeah, I mean, I just, you know, I love writing songs. I often say that I think songwriting is, or a career in music, or both, is maybe a manifestation of mental illness. You know, like, you know, why would we do it? But we do it, and I don't think I'd want to be doing anything else. So I'm just stoked to be here, and yeah, get to know y'all, kind of nerd out on songs, right?
Here it is.
It's gonna be a good time on Earth, right? But yeah, I guess passing on to Mariah.
Hey, thanks so much. My name is Mariah Parker. I perform under the name Lingua Franca. As Blair mentioned, I was the 2018 Big Chesnutt Songwriter of the Year. I also, my background with regards to language, I have a master's in linguistics from the University of Georgia. And so that's around the time that I started making hip hop. And so I think that the science of language, you know, inventorying the various combinations of sounds and words that are possible in the English language very much informs my songwriting. I also almost very near having a PhD in language and literacy education at the University of Georgia as well. So I've spent many years sharing my scientific and creative insights about language with students at various levels. And then I also, you know, serve as a county commissioner at Athens-Carr County Commission since 2018. And so thinking about the ways that storytelling can build movements and, you know, communicate both problems and solutions is something that I do outside of that job that is very much related to it. And I'm excited to talk about all that with y'all tonight. So thank you for having me.
Cool. Great. Well, like I say, it's a great panel, and I want to encourage the audience. I've come up with a few questions that I think that will get this kind of conversation going. It already has. And just in the little pre-show we had to make sure we checked all our signals, just hearing them talk back and forth and the connections they already have were really enlightening for me. But I would like to encourage you all to use the chat to submit questions, because my guess is your questions will be at least as good, if not better than mine. And, you know, we don't want to run out of questions. My guess is they'll talk, you know, we're going to go here for a while. So if you've got a question that we're not addressing, or a specific question to one or more of these, or just the panel in general, please put it in the chat. Our curator, unnamed, will be forwarding those questions to me, and toward the you know, halfway point or so, I'll start asking questions that you guys have come up with to focus on the things you're interested in. So another kind of, to get started, question, everybody, and all of you kind of touched on this a little bit. Ben definitely touched on it, but describe your method or process of writing songs. When do you write? Do you kind of write on demand? Do you just kind of write all the time? Is there a certain time of day or a certain place, certain things that inspire you? Do you write when you know you have a record to make? I mean, what's kind of and how has that maybe changed over time? A lot of you all have been doing this for a long time, and all of you, depending on, you know, relativity of time. None of you are beginners. So how do you write? And of course, like most non-musicians, I always wonder what comes first. I'm always fascinated by the story of bands and singer-songwriters. Some people start with the music, some people start with the words, some people, it depends on the song. I'd just be interested in all that. So that's my next kind of open-ended question to any of y'all. And I think since I'm going randomly, was what we decided on as the panelist. I think I will start, since she went last time. Let me start with Mariah. What's your you know, process, method of songwriting?
Yeah, so I oftentimes I don't start from meaning. I start with like wordplay itself, not in the sense of like puns, but thinking about rhyme, thinking about sounds, thinking about cadence, and just sort of playing around with the opportunities there and seeing what kinds of meaning come to mind when I start, you know, messing with sounds. So this practice originated from in college, when I would not pay attention in any of my classes. I would just make a list of all the words I could think of that would rhyme together. And then emerging from those lists, I'd be like, oh, like, you know, chocolate broccoli. That's what I look like. And that like becoming like, oh, I'm gonna put that in a song. Like that actually has meaning in addition to like sounding sonically pleasant. And so that's oftentimes where I start from, or with like hooks and stuff, I'll just like start singing random sounds and then think about what words come to my mind as I'm like creating just a melody. But then in terms of like day in, day out writing practice, one thing that has really strengthened my songwriting is I have a podcast that is weekly where myself and my co-host actually rap about the topic of the show on the intro to the show every week. And so every single week, on Wednesday, I have to write 16 like bars about a random topic. And at first it was really hard and like I struggled with it a lot, but over a year and a half of doing it, I can now write a verse I'm pretty proud of in about 20 minutes. And so having very regular, rather than waiting for the inspiration to come to you, having like a very routine practice of like, I have to sit down and write right now, to kind of strengthen your mental muscle to like find creative means of expressing different things a little more easier because you flex that muscle a lot. So those are two things that help me a lot. Do I pick, or you pick the next person?
No, I've always heard. You pick, but I've always heard that people on the outside undervalue much work and discipline songwriting takes.
Oh,
It's
God.
not all magic. It's not just all inspiration. Nope. It's work. It's discipline. It's what you're just describing.
Right.
So interesting to hear you say that, and I'm not surprised.
Yeah, I would say my songwriting is like 80% discipline, 15% inspiration,
yeah.
And then 5% just randomness. But I feel like Tomi had some responded pretty vigorously to that. So I wonder if Tomi has anything to add.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting because it is a discipline. When I write, I have a tendency to like hum and hear a hook because I'm in the business and I've been around people that I've worked with, people like Dallas Austin and LA and Face and all that, and they tell you I've watched them work from hooks, but me personally, I have to be inspired. So I have to see something, hear something, and it has to resonate with me. Then I have to make it make sense in a song. So I'll see, like 3-5 Human, we have a song called Yesterday's Girl. And that's because I had read an article about a girl that had gotten, was abused and everything. And I was like, okay, interestingly enough, that's more common than people think. And the way that girl probably thinks, if she got past it, was, okay, I got to keep my morals and, my way of thinking all intact. No matter what happens to me here, I'm still the girl I used to be back then. So I'll take that and then I'll sit down and I'll write a hook, man, in a song and put it in a song. And I may not touch that song for 3 months. Then sometimes it just flows out. It kind of depends. I'm one of those inspiration kind of people. It kind of depends on what I'm inspired by and what exactly I'm playing or what I'm hearing in my life. And then you have to make it, because there are parts of songs. There's hooks, there's pre-choruses, there's verses, there's all that kind of stuff. And there is a methodology to writing a song. And I learned a lot of that more when I started working in Nashville, doing write sessions, and watched how they did it there. And, they would come, what are we going to talk about today? I think it always starts with that. What am I going to talk about today? Then you have to put the mechanics in it and the discipline of the mechanics to make it make sense. And then, outside influences and all that kind of stuff or whatever. But it varies, but it always comes back to the discipline of understanding what it is that a song needs. It always comes back to that. Oh, and I'm in Atlanta. I forgot to say that. Anybody,
Trina? I mean, there's no automatic reason we have to, but
right.
Half of 3/5, 3/5.
Yeah.
So yeah, for me, my songwriting is indefinite. Like it's evolving now that I have been able to, set up studio. I mean, I don't really play an instrument, but to be able to have software to put music together and everything to write. But the way I write, sometimes it comes quick. Sometimes, the subject matter is there, the melody is there, the energy is there, the impact, the delivery is naturally there, and then sometimes I just hear the melody and I don't have many words, but what ends up happening for me is I will sing the melody and whatever vowels or, phrasing that comes out of that, I'll put that down. And usually the lyrics will come from either the O that I sang, if it's a word with an O or E or A or whatever. It seems to kind of come together like that because in the early stages of hearing the melody and feeling the melody, the way the sounds came out of my mouth feels very natural. So then I end up putting melody to those oohs, ahs, ahs, whatever, and picking a subject matter, or the subject matter will show up from the energy of the song. But now, you know, I go through the software and I pick, you know, I start listening to all the sounds or whatever, and whatever sticks out to me at that moment, whether it's a softer song or a heavier song or a quirky song or a slow, fast song. You know, if it's hit me at that moment, then I'll pick that and start building upon that. And I usually go from drums to bass to guitar or keyboards and strings and things like that. And then that'll dictate to me what the song is going to be about. You know, I'm learning now that I don't have to be stuck in a box with what I've always done as far as music is concerned, the freedom of being able to do several things. And it's really going back to all of the stuff that I remember from growing up, the music that I listened to from growing up. Yeah, I can write that stuff, you know, because it's a part of who I am. And I just think songwriting is an extension of oneself, you know. What you think, what you feel, and how to get that across to people, and to not feel inhibited with saying whatever, and just finding a clever way of saying it to where everyone can relate, you know. So that's kind of it. Sometimes I'll hear melody in my sleep, and I have to wake up and grab my phone and go, blah, 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 whatever it is, you know, so I don't lose it, you know, because if I did that a few times, you know, sleep, hearing a song, and was like, I remembered in the morning, oh, hell to the no, you know, no, it just, so that's part of, you know, so I'm always singing in my phone and putting the ideas down, and sometimes I write, and I don't finish it, and next year it'll show back up, and I'll go, oh, I couldn't find a melody for it then. Now I got one, you know, and put it down, and it's kind of a building process for me with some songs, and then like I said, some of them show up just bam like that, like a song that we have called Favorite. That one showed up in 10 minutes. Tomi was in one room writing the music, and I was hearing the whole song in the other room, you know, and at that time I was afraid to kind of put it out there. You know, that was the first song that Tomi and I wrote together, and I was afraid to put it out there, but I had to, because I knew at that moment it was a good song. And, you know, when they're singing it for me, he was like, it's all right. But it ended up being on the record, so, you know, and it's still a good song, and I think good songs are timeless. You know, they don't get stuck in an era, you know, so I try to keep that in mind when I'm writing as well, so. And yeah. So, I want, because like Amy and Emily's writing is man, the y'all songs are off the chain, and I want to hear from y'all what y'all's writing process is, and how you make that balance of, you know, coming to you know, agreement with this particular part in this particular song and things like that. So that's what I want to hear.
Want me to start? I think Amy's pointing at me. Okay. Thanks, Trina. Well, just going back to the discipline thing, I never was a disciplined writer, because when I started writing songs really, really young, like about maybe 9 or something. They weren't good songs, but I wanted to write songs, and so my songwriting has always been like a pretty honest and straightforward reflection of how I see the world, and songs help me process things in life, and you know, they can get out loneliness and angst and joy and all that stuff. So, you know, when I was younger, I was so full of energy and so angsty, and so I'm still an emotional person, but I was like really. So I could write 5 songs in a day. I remember sitting in my room in college and just writing and writing and writing and writing. as I look back on that group of songs, they're all pretty much about the same thing, but I've had a lot of just, I just had to get these thoughts out and so on, and, you know, life was super mysterious back then, and all the things. And then as I got older, and I wrote a lot of songs, I wanted to just grow in my songwriting. I didn't have that muse visit me all the time, and so I just learned that discipline is really important. So now I mostly write, and I'll get to the process too, Trina. I know it's trying to like not go on and on, but so when I write, I usually it's like, okay, my wife and I'll have a schedule, and she'll be like, okay, well, I'm at work from this period, and Cleo's in school, and so you have from 2 to 4. And so like from 2 to 4, I'll come down to my room, this room, and just write. And I don't always get something, and sometimes I'm like, everything I get sucks, but I get something, like even a little thing. And so now all my writing is very disciplined. It comes from the discipline of sitting down and actually doing it, because I rarely am like, oh, I really want to go down and write a song right now. I just don't feel the way I used to about it. Which doesn't mean it's less important to me. It's just shifted in that way. So I come down, and usually I write much more prolifically when Amy and I have an album coming up, or when there's a project coming up. And I like having a deadline and a goal in mind. It's motivating to me. And so usually I'll find a chord progression, and there must be some sort of like pool of thought that I've been having, or subconscious, or whatever it is, and then the chord progression will invite the song in, and also the instrument will invite the song in. Because like if I pick up a banjo, I would never have written that song on guitar, ever, or the ukulele, so that's kind of cool. So like Amy and I, over the years, we started to just pick up other instruments, and I'm not proficient at any of them. Like I'm not a good banjo player, but I can play chords on it, so it has really expanded the songs that come to visit the instrument. So that's been a cool thing to discover. And then now, most recently, like today, one of my favorite drummers is Matt Chamberlain, and I just went online and I bought a volume of his live drum samples and loops, because I just wanted to hear real drums. Like I do Logic software, and I use Apple Loops and all that stuff, but it just wasn't like getting it. So I bought these real live drum tracks, and so I'm writing more now with software. And I'm not a great engineer, but I am learning. I was surprised at how much I knew today compared to last week. So that's part of my writing now too. And actually is a little more fun right now, because there's such a learning curve for me to come and mess around with the software and write. But it hasn't become as gratifying yet as coming down with the guitar and writing what I think is a good song. So we'll see if it ever gets there. I don't know. And then, I think after all this time, I have to say I'm so thankful I have Amy, because I get sick of myself. I get really bored with my own self. I'm very self-critical. I don't want to be the same songwriter that I am, and yet I find it hard to jump outside of my box stylistically, because then I start feeling not authentic. So I went through a period where I was obsessed with funk music, the Bar K's and the Commodores and the Gap Band, and I can't write that shit, so I can't even try. So sometimes the music that moves me most, I cannot even attempt to emulate. And so I draw in my spirit from different genres and stuff, but I sort of feel like I can only really do what I do best, and that's discouraging to me sometimes. So, but I ain't dead yet. So, but what I love having Amy is like her songs are different. She's got this power and this visceralness to her that I don't. So I'm like, oh, I'm so thoughtful, and my voice is so higher, and I pick the guitar strings, and I start feeling like that. And then I'm so thankful. I'm not trying to be self-deprecating. I really feel this way. She's a different force than I am, and it just keeps things interesting for me, and it has for over 40 years now, or 40 years, whatever it is. So that's how I songwrite. I start with a progression. I try different instruments. Now I'm doing some, software stuff, and I'm always influenced by other writers. I mean, when I was young, all I wanted to do was be Joni Mitchell, and then I read an interview with her, and she's like, I don't want anybody to write songs like me, I want them to write their own shit. So I was like, I'm not going to do that anymore. And ever since then, I tried to find my own voice, but I saw Dar Williams last night at Eddie's Attic. Oh, what a songwriter. And that was inspiring. Anytime I hear another songwriter or a band or listen to a good album, it's so inspiring. So, okay, Aim.
I love to hear you say that you like deadlines. I once was famous for saying at a dinner, artists need deadlines, and it was not a very popular line with the particular people I was with. Who would
I need them.
But yeah, I think, at this particular moment, what I said was true. I didn't make it popular at that moment, at that table. Amy, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, you're good. I love hearing from you, Bert. You're like a mentor, in your own right. I mean, oh my God, And Emily, you are being self-deprecating. It's like she writes all the hits. Emily writes the hits. We would be nothing without. When I was young, Emily was already writing. I was copying Elton John songs and just writing like the same song, basically, or the Partridge Family or something. And Emily was already writing these like songs. So I've always aspired and looked up to her, and I think part of our partnership has been that we play to each other's weaknesses in some ways. So I didn't know how to sing harmony at all when we started, and Emily was like trying to teach me, but I had to basically think of it as a melody. So our arrangements ended up being a lot of counter melodies, because that's what I could do. I could listen to Simon and Garfunkel and turn the speaker to one side and hear each person's part, and learned how to sing harmony from the Everly Brothers and Simon and Garfunkel and people that were doing that kind of, like where you could split the stereo field and listen to one part or the other. And then Emily would teach me parts, and I would write down each little note and memorize it and learn the harmony part that way. And so that's kind of how, we write completely separately from each other. And then we come together when we're going to make a record, and we start working on arrangements. And the songs become Indigo Girl songs at that point. And they shift and they change a little bit. I mean, I have to say, when I'm writing, I can hear what Emily's doing in my head. She doesn't do the same thing, but for me, I often hear the collaborator that I'm thinking about doing the song with. So if it's my country band, I'm thinking about their parts. If it's a song that I know I hear Emily on, automatically I'm like, oh, this is an Indigo Girl song, and it inspires me because I think about what she would do, and it helps inspire me to work on it more. And I'm similar to Emily. When I started out, I was very romantic about the muse, and it was like I had, get a 6-pack and sit on the porch and you'll write a song, and it never happened. It's like I did not understand the discipline at all, and I was very behind, I felt like, and a late bloomer in songwriting for a long time. And I think early in our career, Steve Earle was like, the writer Steve Earle, he said, Amy, if you want to be a writer, you've got to write. And I was like, that's a good point, because I wasn't disciplined and I wouldn't spend time on it. And so I wouldn't have that many, I just really couldn't get that many songs and enough to, and when I did write something, I was so precious on it that I wouldn't edit it enough and spend time. There's so many songs from 25 years ago or 30 years ago that I wish I could take and redo, because one part of it is great and the rest of it just stinks, And now I remember that all the time, and I'm like, is this done? Because I dismantle it brutally and then put it back together again. And so I have become much more disciplined, and I actually love writing, and I find if I go for too long without writing, I start to feel a little crazy. It's kind of, I can't believe I'm saying this, but it's kind of therapeutic, and I never would have thought I would feel that way about it. But I write probably 5 days a week, even if it's just for 15 minutes, but I like to get an hour or two in. And even if it's 3 o'clock in the morning, I just have to do it because it's a muscle that I feel good exercising. And the thing that I really, I try to work on writing a better melody. I try to, I take my melodies apart. I change the chords underneath the melody that I have to make the melody sound different. And that's something that Mitchell Froome taught me how to do, the producer. He took one of my songs and deconstructed it and put completely different chords underneath the melody. And it was so much better. And I was like, oh my God. And so it's a trick I try to do all the time now. But basically, I write in a writing journal as often as possible, just stream of consciousness. And I sit down with my guitar or electric or acoustic or like a piano, and I just sing. I mean, literally whatever comes into my head, looking at my journal. It's not always what's written down. And I tape everything I do, and half of it doesn't make sense. But I go back, and the other part of my writing is I listen to everything I've taped, and I log it all in as like, has potential, this sucks, whatever. And that's how I create the songs, I'll have 10 different songs going on at one time. And it's just from, I love how y'all talked about phonetics a lot, Mariah, you brought that. Because that, and Michael Stipe used to talk about that too a lot. And phonetic, like that's something like I'll just be singing gibberish because I like the sound of the gibberish. And then I'll realize that I'm saying something. And I love that. And it's just stream of consciousness. You just have to be, because there's a time when you create where you should be completely unbridled and like you should create as if no one's looking over your shoulder, not your mom or your father or your sisters or your brothers or your friends or someone you broke up with. Just write completely free. And then I have a time when I'm editing where I just really try to make the craft of songwriting enter into it and wrangle it a little bit. But then again, from listening to someone like Bon Iver, Justin Vernon, and like digging into Emily to try to turn me on to more hip hop and listening to some of the phrasing and poetry and stuff, it really set me free as far as also, it doesn't have to be a formula. It's like it's like when you look at all the different ways people play banjo. There's nothing that says you have to play banjo one certain way. It's an open field. So I think like you should let yourself go there, but also at some point, if you want to be relating to an audience, try to be that other person listening to what you're doing. And I always say, write your song as if you're telling someone that story that's right in front of you, and you want them to understand what you're talking about. Don't be like too mysterious and vague. Like try to have some detail in there. It's something that they can hang on to a little bit. It doesn't mean they have to understand what you mean. It means they have to glean something for themselves from it. But I just feel like there's a part to be really free and stream of consciousness, and there's a moment where the discipline enters in, and it's like doing a crossword puzzle, and you got to fill in the blanks, and it's all got to work together somehow. So, yeah. So that's, but all Trina, Tomi, Caroline, then everybody has a different style, and definitely when I'm running dry, I just go listen to other people's music. Honestly, during my writing time.
Me too.
Like when I'm supposed to be writing, I'll just be like Spotify and check out what people are doing and try to learn the songs or write down lyrics that they're doing and see how they construct them. So I think when you're writing, there's a time for input as well as output. So that's, and I'll throw it to Linda De La Coer for some more comments.
I was hoping you wouldn't throw it to me because you said kind of like so much of the stuff that I was kind of thinking too. I think that learning the craft and putting that kind of equity in is super important because ideally, right, we're supposed to get out of our own way and allow our subconscious, kind of like Mariah was saying before about phonetics and kind of, it might not even make sense to you the way you're putting things together, but you're kind of editing and focusing on craft, and that you're going to psych yourself out, you're going to kind of cut that, like I'm sure everyone here has written things that didn't make sense at the time, but then you went back, even a day later, and you're like, oh, this is, even so far as like the rhyme scheme will be like perfectly structured, but it was just all your subconscious. I don't think you're able to get out of your own way until you learn the craft, until you learn things, and then that becomes part of like the vehicle that your subconscious travels along. It's like you land the train tracks, and so it's kind of like Coltrane or started, but it's not. They were all so disciplined and so trained that they were able to use that discipline to just shoot off into a different kind of universe, which is how they were writing from. And I think that, you know, or using an example from literature, like Keats talks about negative capability, and Rilke also talks about the, you know, living the questions kind of concept, which is, you know, to not have an answer, to not be thinking like, you know, there's a habit of people here in Nashville, I think a lot, you know, I'm not really in that world here, but people who are, you know, the music row, the few kind of people left, I guess, they kind of, you know, and Tommy, I'm sure you've experienced this a lot, spending time in Nashville, but people are like, how do I wrap this up? How do I make it, you know, and
Yeah.
you're not only doing a disservice to your craft and muse and the history of songwriting, but you're also insulting the intelligence of whoever's listening. You know, I mean, I think that people want to feel like you got to leave those holes so people can relate to the song. You know, and that's where the whole paradoxical nature, the more specific you are, the more universal the song becomes. Because it's so specific to you that I think you unintentionally leave certain gaps in there, and that's what allows people to come in and like, you know, you don't have to have the life experience of the narrator of the song that you're listening to, or the narrator of the song you're writing. It doesn't matter. You can still identify with so many of the things, because when you're specific, you're being real, and you're talking you're talking about something true. I mean, whether it happened or not is irrelevant. If something is true,
Right.
that it's a real thing, and it's you know, all of those things, all those mechanics of that, you've got to, you know, even you know, Emily, you were saying about how your process has changed over the years, and I think that's probably true for all of us. But I think that you're able to do that because you put in so much time into like the nuts and bolts of songwriting and thinking about, you know, rhyme scheme and structure and phonetics and internal rhymes and stuff, and that you're able to kind of just put that away and allow your subconscious to come through and, you know, dive into the lake, man. And that's people think you can get a short, you know, it's way easier to listen to Townsend and Zant and be like, all right, I'm going to drink a gallon of vodka a day and I'm going to be like Towns. And it's like, you know how many
He's gonna be drunk.
hours that guy put into writing songs? Like, you know, that's where it's at. You know, but people, you know, a lot of people, we're all guilty of it at a phase, I think, you know, in our songwriting where we latch on to the mythos behind it, or you know, and then think, you know, it's the human nature to think you can take a shortcut to genius by being a lunatic. But I tell you, I never wrote any songs when I was on the psych ward. I was just eating peanuts all day and watching horrible television. Like, I don't know what, like, you know, it's important to, you got to put all that, you know, you got to love it. You got to do the thing. And, you know, I don't know. I go through phase. I'm very prone to tangential, he's very prone to wandering off topic, so I'm going to try to pull it back to the topic at hand. But I think like having a structured writing kind of routine is really important. But I think also by the same token, you know, the times we're living through, it's I read this essay from a website at the start of this pandemic because, you know, everyone's always going, oh, well, you're going to have so much time for writing songs. And like, oh, think about all the good art. It's like, dude, there are people dying. Like, it's like people are, this is, in our lifetimes, an unprecedented event, you know, and now it's like people are doubling down on looking at songwriting as some kind of commodity. Like, oh, look how much product you can churn out. You're going to have so much downtime. It's like, you've got downtime, but, you know, we're all just trying to hang on to our sanity. And that goes back to the whole cliche about a tortured artist. Like, oh, you're living in tortured times. You're going to make this great work of art. It's, you know, that's not how it works. And I think it's important for, you know, for us all to do whatever we want want to do and whatever helps us with our creative output, whatever output we're wanting to do during a time like this. But I think it's such a dangerous, slippery slope to go down where you're thinking, okay, the world is imploding around me, I better write some songs. And people think I'm kind of phony or I'm a fraud because I'm just sitting around, and it's like, well, if you're sitting around during these times, you're doing pretty good,
Yeah. Gotta say something really fast, really quick, about the phonetics. He said something that made a lot of sense also, and so Mariah, it doesn't have to make sense. I've gotten a chance to be able to watch very successful songwriters, very big successful songwriters, and I watch, amateur songwriters. And when I watch, my wife is a hit songwriter. She wrote a song for Rihanna, and they had a party that it was called "What's My Name?" Oh na na, what's my name? Oh na na, they stuck "Oh na na" in there, her and the other writer, until they could figure out what they were going to say. But phonetically, it sounded right. So you do that in songwriting. I do that a lot. Sometimes I'll say something and, I know I want it melodically to go that way. Then I have to come back and fix the words to make it. But the creative, artistic part of it takes over, and the audience takes over. Now they call the song "Oh Nana." That's not the name of the song, but it fits so well. So in the midst of all mixing and writing and doing things, we'll get to it. And you start to realize, okay, that sounds right. That makes sense. That's cool. Just leave it there. That's when the phonetic part of it comes in, and the cadence. I learned that by being around a lot of hip hop artists too. Their cadence is very, very important. I've sat and watched Andre 3000 just put a song together, take it back apart. Put a song together, take it back apart. Put a song together, and if you're watching it, you're going, okay, there really is just a lot of words. No, it makes a lot of sense, and it's written still in song format. There's a hook, there's a chorus, there's still a pre-hook. There's a sing-songy kind of part. If you're going, hey, yeah, everybody's gonna sing that. Everybody's gonna sing that, and then you write according. It's kind of a mixture. Because somebody asked a question in there. They asked me if I put songs together, do I have a mode of what I'm gonna do, or do I Frankenstein it? You kind of blend them together. You kind of come up with some crazy, whatever Frankenstein kind of stuff, but you still have a model that you start with. I start with a model of, okay, I'm gonna write this kind of song. I hear something, I'll write it, and then I start just throwing stuff on whatever sticks and makes sense to me to make the song sound like it's supposed to sound in my head. I'll leave it on there. Even I write from a perspective. I've written songs for Trina from a female perspective. We have a song called Black Rock Queen. I wrote the song. I'm not a Black Rock Queen, but I wrote it from a female perspective because I knew she could convey it and get around. And I know. Okay, there's some Black rockers out there, female rockers that would get this, that would understand it. It makes it. I actually wrote it for Tina Turner, but she blew it. But anyway,
that's good.
Writing from other perspectives helps too. You don't necessarily always have to write from your perspective. I learned that from listening to Tom Waits. That guy comes from everywhere. And if it comes together and gels and makes something cohesive that makes sense to you, do it, get it done, get away from it, and go do another one. Don't. And I've seen people who like beat song, and it really never moves after a while. After a while, it's done what it's going to do, and it's not going to do anything else. But I just wanted to say that.
No, people, I think, sorry to jump on again, but I think that people have this misconception that all songs, or even those songs, should be autobiographical.
Right, yeah, right.
I don't know how interesting y'all's life is, but I would be bored as hell after 3 songs about my own life. I'm like, you go to a show and dude's singing to every every song is about a girl that made him sad, you know, and you can just tell.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Brought it on himself, and you're just.
He brought it on himself.
You're not on the side of the artist, you know, and I think that it's no different from literature, you know, like, it's like, I think that authors who read every book about themselves, or even a lot of my favorite authors probably never read, I mean, you're in every song you write. You can't help, you know, and as you should be, but I think that, yeah, like, it's like your thing, if you just always write songs about yourself, that's fine, you know, if you're like, that's just how you operate, but I think this thing, like, you know, people confuse, there's a difference between honesty and just oversharing, you know?
Yeah, actually it is, it really is.
Hey, Caroline, I'm going to interject here and ask you honestly, without oversharing, how do you write songs? What's your method and process? You haven't chimed in on this one yet, and love to hear your insights on this in terms of these general topics everybody's been addressing. How it relates to you?
Thanks, Bertus. I think I was lucky to learn how to conjugate verbs at an early age in another language. I think that kind of opened my eyes to, like, I took Latin at an early age, and I was very lucky to understand how a sentence was constructed, and then the music business. I started playing in a band in Long Island, New York, and we were doing, and I was 14 years old, and we were doing the latest, greatest cover material. It was a great band, and I was learning a lot. And so for the first 20 years of my career, all I did was cover material, and I would sneak in my own stuff every once in a while, you know, like, you know, if you did it too much, they'd fire you, you know, so you had to do covers. And so I really think that I benefited from, like, just the amazing songwriting of all of those amazing artists. We don't have to go through the litany of them, but I mean, just, you know, learning from others. Why reinvent the wheel? Learning from others, and then of course writing my own stuff. I had these progressions. I had chord, you know, changes under my hands. I had melodies that I had learned, and I could whip around and change if I wanted to. But I think the most important thing was that music really saved my life. And I have to say it's really, honestly saved my life. So, I mean, the dedication that it took to be on the road for 52 years and play music and keep booking and keep figuring it out and keep coming up with new albums, you know, that's, I mean, you know, it has saved your life. This is a place that makes sense to you. So to keep the lifeblood flowing, you know, I think I always keep books around. I always keep something to inspire me, something to get my mind off of the track it's in, and maybe, you know, learn something new. Learn a new song, listen to a lot, pick up a different instrument. I write a lot. I have pads in every bathroom and by my bed, you know, to write stuff down. And I just want to say that Emily said something really interesting. The songs that come visit the instrument. I just think that's pretty amazing. Because I can pick up a different instrument. I play piano and guitar, and I play diddle around on other stuff, and that'll really break me out of something, and I will play something that I don't know where it came from, but it felt good. And Amy, you said so precious on it. You were so precious on a song that you would, you know, like over baby it, right? So precious on it. Where does that come from? Where does that saying come from? That is so awesome.
No, I don't know. I mean, feel like I've probably heard another songwriter say it. But
I
I think
love
somebody just once said to me, you know, don't be afraid to like take it apart. You
Yeah.
can put it back together again.
Yeah, or put it down and wait on it.
Yeah, well, I mean, seriously, I just recorded a song that I wrote 12 years ago because I couldn't finish it. And it was just the right moment for it and the right people. And I was like, oh yeah, I'm going to pull this one back out again. It's crazy. I mean, like, it's like, yeah, don't be afraid to take it apart, work on it. But there's a time to put it down too, I'm sure. Yeah. You know, when you're messing it up. But yeah. Oh my God, Caroline, we've learned so much.
So there are a couple more points I want to make just before I'm done. So you're the biggest question, I think I said, maybe I said this. The biggest question to me has been, how do you tell a story from beginning to end in 3 minutes?
Yeah, you don't. You don't. It's impossible.
I was teaching in a college, and these were people who were they wrote novels, and they were so interested in how to finish, you know, to like start and finish, like, I mean, put a period on the end of it, story in 3 minutes. So that's kind of what that's our currency. It's like we have these moments in time that we offer people, and I want you songwriters to remember that this is currency. This is intellectual property that needs to be, when you create it, it is yours, and you need to believe that it is currency. So there you go. I'm done.
Excellent. Thank you all. I'm going to ask, because I think some of you knew, I had a couple other questions prepared. We may get to them, depending on, I want to get some time for some audience questions, because we said we would. But I want to ask, I'm pretty sure some of you knew Vic Chesnutt. So in just a few words, tell us a little bit about Vic and made him so special. Am I right? Did anybody here actually know Vic?
I did.
I think Amy and Emily.
I mean, I met him a couple times. You know, I wouldn't say I knew him, but he was one of the best. I mean, his use of language is just one thing that I learned from in such a huge way. And that's the thing, you know, Vic, the spirit of Vic was this, just not scared of words at all, you know, just didn't let words scare him. He just like said things in this way that was so special and wacky and dirty and, you know, like dirt, you know, like Southern, and just like, it was like he was wrestling all the time with language, and he just mangled it into this thing that meant so much more than what I could ever say in a sentence. And so for me, I only met him a couple times. I probably was like flabbergasted and didn't know what to say.
Yeah, that was the same with me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't meet him either, but I never met him either, and I just heard about him recently. But when Caroline called about this here thing, I was like, okay, so I need to know something about the man, you know. And I went and I checked out some videos, and I was sitting in the parking lot, and I was looking on my phone, looking at YouTube, and he was doing this event, and somebody had asked him to do a song that he hadn't done in a long time, but like the delivery of that song, and I can't recall what it was, but I remember how I felt when I was listening to it, and watching him deliver it. The subtleness of the nuances it's like a quiet loud. You know what I mean? You know, it's like really loud but very quietly, and that's the energy that I found that I latched onto him. I can't remember what that song is. I need to go back and look at it. You know, that particular song, that energy is what I got from him. It was like a quiet riot. So, Yeah.
Speaking of Vic, I want to call on Ellen Bryson, who will put herself back on screen. She is the chair of the Vic Chesnutt Songwriting Award Committee, and I believe the nominations are currently open for the 2022 recipient of that award. And she's going to put a little bit in context of what the Classic City Rotary is sponsoring, not only with tonight's seminar, but the ongoing, is it Thursday night seminars over the next few weeks. Tell us a little bit about that and how some people already have signed up, others may be interested in it, especially after getting to hear everybody talk tonight. So Ellen, if you'll do that, then we'll get to some questions from the crowd out there in Zoom land.
Great, thank you, Curtis. Thank you all. I'm not a songwriter, but I have so enjoyed listening to all of you tonight. It has been so inspiring and so fun to hear you talk about your music. I just want to give you a little bit of information about the workshops. We have 3 90-minute workshops that are scheduled to start next Thursday night on January 20th. We would have one on the 20th, the 27th, and February 3rd. And our instructors are actually Caroline Aiken, Mariah Parker, Tomi Martin and Trina Meade are co-teaching, and then we have Coer. And so we still have about we still have about a dozen spaces open. So if you're interested, you can go back on the website tomorrow and you can sign up for a workshop. I hope this has inspired you and that you've gotten a lot of information about the different styles and hearing each of the instructors speak, and just hope you will do that. And I want to give you a little bit of background about how this all came about. Our Rotary Club in Athens is actually the smaller club. We're not the business Rotary Club, but we're kind of the club that connects more with the arts and music community. And we were looking for a way to deepen this relationship. And we realized that songwriters were not getting much visibility in Athens. There was a music award and musicians were being recognized. The songwriters really weren't. So we decided to start this event in 2016, and we're fortunate enough to have Tina Chesnutt on our committee. And she was Vic's wife, and she and the family agreed to let us name the award after Vic. And the award carries a $1,000 cash prize, but it also carries a $5,000 PR package now. We didn't have that package in the early days, but I think in the last 4 years, that has actually been part of the prize. There are 5 finalists, and the finalists each get a small cash prize and some recording time if they're chosen to be a finalist. There are 5 finalists. It's open to anyone who lives in Athens or the 5 contiguous counties. There's no fee for people to enter, and Caroline tells us that that's a big mistake. But we feel
I do not.
Caroline tells us it's unusual to have an award where people don't have to actually pay to enter. So it's our way of giving back to the community, and it's hard to believe this is our 6th year, and this is also the 2nd year of the workshops and the seminar, and we just feel like it's a way for us. The seminar is a way to connect with people internationally, but it's also a way for people here in Athens who want the opportunity to have an opportunity for a very low cost. So thank you all for making this possible. Thank you for participating tonight. Thank you for all the participants out there, and just hope you'll go back on the website and sign up for instruction with one of these great instructors and write a great song. So I'm going to turn it back to you, Burtis, and
our high-tech way of getting questions, I'm trying not to do any multitasking here, so I'm not looking at the Q&A, but I've got a bunch of texts from Blair with some questions from the people on Zoom right now. And we all know even Steph Curry has slumps once in a while. How do you get out of a slump? Even though y'all are all all-star songwriters, my guess is you go through slumps. You you come up dry. Somebody referred to coming up dry once in a while. So how do you get out of a writing slump? That comes from somebody. Everybody can give their own little tips on that, or you can turn your camera off and not talk during this time, or you knock on wood or whatever you want to do. But that's the question.
I'll start real quick. The first thing I do is, at this point in life, I know that this too shall pass. Yeah. So a slump will pass. Mm-hmm. And in the meantime, I really try to absorb works of art, or novels, or even do crosswords, or watch a good film to bring inspiration in from outside myself. But I have faith that it will pass and that I'll be inspired again.
I'm going to second that too. I stop. I just when it's not coming, when it's not showing up, I don't want it to sound forced, and it probably will if I keep on messing with it, trying to turn it into something that it's not. I just stop and I leave it alone. And I go color, I go paint, I go, and do other stuff until it shows back up. But then if you're on a deadline, you might not be able to do that. If you have to, turn in the song by tomorrow afternoon at 1:30, it might not might not be able to happen like that. But I guess that's where, I don't know, I guess formulas come in when, if you're in a writing house or something like that, and you got formulas that happen like that, and, you cut that cookie.
So when I was on the road,
go for it.
Me?
Go ahead, Caroline.
So songwriting when I'm in the slump. So I really spent my life being a professional driver on the road, driving myself from gig to gig. And that's many, many hours alone. And I would take a bag of paper plates that are pretty nice and strong, and I would put them on my lap, and I would, I didn't have to even look. I could just write. And these incredible, this frame of mind you're in is, you've got to be alert. And so your body's doing one thing, and all of a sudden your mind can just go. So there are ways to break out of that slump by, you know that there's places where you zone, where you find that zone. And I find it driving. Don't tell any. I mean, it's like I wasn't looking. I would then, after I was done, I would stick the one I had just written on in the back and pull out a fresh one. And this was how I wrote a lot of stuff on the road. Being home.
Literally on the road. Literally on the road.
Shit.
Well, I was driving myself. I was normally carrying my own equipment and out for months, because you wanted to put them all in a straight line. You didn't want to have to double up. And so, but that was a good time to write songs for me. But, it's just all about having yourself ready. I've got my instruments out. I have my paper ready. I have, little prompts. I have different instruments that I play around on. It's all about getting up out of bed in the morning and, getting used to that first foot, that first foot on the floor.
Anybody else on slump recovery, or should I go to the next question? Tommy?
I had something real quick. I try to assess correlations in my periods of inspiration with this other stuff happening in my life to better understand how to get out of a slump. So if I'm I'm on fire, I'm writing all this dope shit, I'm killing it right now. Sitting down and also if I'm writing, songwriting, I'm also down and journaling what is happening in my life. I noticed I went for a really long walk today, or I've been staying really hydrated, I've been getting good sleep. And so when a slump rolls around, you can remember those were the things that were helping me feel inspired at the time. What isn't happening now that might be contributing to my lack of inspiration? And you can't always control those things in your life. Maybe you're just going through some hard stuff at work or family. But there oftentimes are small things in your control that you can do to at least lift yourself up somewhat, if not all the way out of a rut. So like, oh, you know what? I realized I haven't been able to write lately, but it's been cloudy, and so I like haven't been outside except for work in like days. So you recognize, okay, maybe I'll go for a walk and start sort of like singing a little melody and seeing if something comes to you. And so I guess developing greater awareness of yourself and your patterns can then inform the activities you engage in more broadly to get yourself out of a creative slump.
Wow, this is really cool. This is
great.
Well, I mean, what I'm getting from this is like the balance between the creative process and the discipline and the academic of it, right? This is. Thank you.
There's this quote by Drew Miller that's kind of my mantra, and it's like, when I can't create, I can work. And I think that's kind of, you don't have to go and write a great song. You don't have to do anything. Sometimes you write a song and it's like, this is the worst thing I've ever heard. But there might be one line in it that'll be the jumping off point to something you write that you don't hate so much, And I think that it's important to do that, and that's where the work comes in. I for about 5 years in my teens, I was an amateur boxer, and when you would have a fight coming up, you'd have to kind of know when to pull back a little and not overtrain, and know when to, just so you've got to kind of be kind to yourself. And be like, I don't need to go down there and write one piece every day. I can just go down, mess around, and maybe I'll come up with a line that'll be the perfect line for a song I've been working on for 5 years. Just do a little bit of work. Don't worry about the creative side.
Well, on a completely different vein to that last question, here's another from somebody out in the crowd. What software are you using? A couple of you have, I know Emily is using Matt Chamberlain's drum parts. I assume he's going on tour with y'all. That's probably why he puts these things out, is he gets a lot of tours.
I think I don't know how old they are, but he did tour with us once. It was a miracle, but no, I haven't used them yet. I'm waiting to.
Well, Chamberlain, what software are you using, and everybody else? To the extent you use the software, somebody's looking for technical advice here.
So I'll just say I use Apple products. So I have an iMac on my desk, and I bought a really nice analog to digital to analog converter, and I have, I don't know if you can see it, but it's like these little series of outboard gear that have really changed the quality of the sound. So I'm just trying to keep it simple and pure. Amy gave me an incredible Neumann microphone, and I have, a long time ago. It's vintage.
You said long.
So I just try to have like a really good mic, really good converter, really good outboard gear. I pay everything by the month, like a car payment. It's an easier pill to swallow, and so that's what I use. Logic, Apple,
Yeah, I use Logic. I have Pro Tools and Logic, but I come from like GarageBand, and so that translation, that step over into Logic made more sense to me. I'm not real particular about mics, and somebody told me a long time ago, an engineer, I think he was working at LaFace or whatever, he said, as long as you watch your meters. He said, make sure you're not peaking. Watch your meters. Like it. So I keep an eye on my meters. And I use Logic, and for a while, I came through the MPC 60 age, and I was using a VES machine at one time. And I just kind of like throw it all together, but the main thing I use is Logic because it's easier, it's more user-friendly to me. Most engineers I know, they're Pro Tools to the end, but I use Logic.
Yeah, I'm using Logic too. I'm finding, and I'm so not the computer savvy person, but I find that software pretty simple. Friend of mine showed me a few things and was like, just play with it. And then Melvin, drummer in the band, he says, you can't make a mistake. I mean, because you can always fix it, you can't go wrong. Just click some buttons, just start doing it. And what I think what I really like about it is some of the loops that I find in here, I can figure out a way to place it because I'm used to hearing live musicians play. And then when I can't get it to look that way, then I can call my friends and say, hey, Tommy, can you play this guitar part? I kind of want it to sound like this right here. It's a good reference in songwriting when you don't play an instrument. I'm using a blue microphone, and the interface is a Scarlett. Yeah, it's a Scarlett, and yeah, Logic.
We're getting toward the end of our time here. In fact, we're supposed to go to 8:30. So I just want to thank all of you panelists for doing this. The goal here was to inspire people, and I know that next time I hear a song, or you're driving down the road, or you're in a store somewhere and you hear a song that it's an old favorite, one you can't wait to get back and actually hear it all the way through, or a new song that you're not aware of, and you go, what's that? And it makes you find an artist and go. And to hear y'all talk about this, and I've been around it a lot, but to hear these different perspectives has been really inspiring for me personally. So it's been a real pleasure to spend this time with you. I want to thank the Classic City Rotary for having the idea, for putting this together, the workshops the next few weeks, and especially the panelists, and then everybody out in the Zoom world being able to enjoy this. So I think that's it for tonight. There are the workshops coming up. All of you musicians and songwriters, thank you. And
good to see everybody.
We can all be in a club somewhere hearing some great music and some great songs. Hopefully soon.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Thank you all. Have a great night.
Good to see you.
I want to let everybody know before they go offline that the people who participate in the workshops are eligible to compete for the award. They would have to have published a song in the preceding year, but that's a further inducement to sign up for the workshops. And the nominations for the award are already open. So you can go to vicchesnuttaward.com to nominate a song that qualifies. Anyway, fantastic program. Thank you very, very much, all of you. We really appreciate it.
Good to see y'all.
Good to see everybody.
Be safe.
Are we staying on?
I don't know what to do now.
The teachers are supposed to stay on.
Okay. I was just typing an answer to somebody about.
I'm saying bye.
Okay. Thank you, Curtis. Great
job.
Great job.
Tomorrow, and she's got to drive through all this weather up to Boston, so I'm going home that
Oh,
day.
wow.
But I really enjoyed this. And I meant to say this, but I've been enjoying listening to all of y'all's music. I thought I should do some research. I knew some of it, but I didn't know all of it. And I've really been enjoying hearing a lot of your stuff. So, there we go. Thank you. Take care.